Okay, this ghost story is going to be about some killers out in the woods, and a group of teenagers going to go camping out in the woods. The group's going to have four teenagers, um, two boys and two girls. And the boys' names are Ethan, David, and the girls are Jessica and Teresa. So basically, they're out and they're camping in these tents, and they're out in the woods, middle of nowhere, in West Virginia, and it's about 10 o'clock at night. They're sitting around the campfire. So Teresa is dating David, and David and Teresa, they decide that they want to go in their tent, do a little, you know, what they do in horror films. So David and Teresa go in their tent, and you know what they're doing. So while they're doing that, Ethan, he's thinking, I'm gonna go off on my own. I'm gonna like just wander around and do something on my own. So Ethan, he just wanders off. He's a lone wanderer walking by himself. And that's when Ethan runs into this dead animal. He runs into this dead skunk, and the skunk is completely gashed open, blood everywhere, and there's no animal could have done this to it. It looked like it had been stabbed by, a knife or something, and ate out of. So Ethan, when he sees this, and he sees a human couldn't have done anything to it, but it grosses him out. So the first thing he does when he sees this dead skunk is, so Ethan, he runs back and he gets the girl, and she's like, it's just a skunk. It's dead. We're in the woods. You know, she's like, you'll be fine. And David is in there with his girlfriend, and they're going wild with Teresa, and Ethan's got Jessica, and Jessica and Ethan, they go walking around, and they're just walking, and then it goes back to David and Teresa. They get done, and David walks out, and he doesn't see Ethan or Jessica anywhere. So David's like, where do they go? So David is like, hey, Teresa, I want to go looking for them. And Teresa's like, I want to stay in the tent. So David, he goes looking for Ethan and Jessica. And David doesn't run into anyone, but David finds the dead skunk. And when David sees the skunk, he first lays his eyes on it. He pretty much has the same thing as thoughts of Ethan. David runs back to the tent to Teresa and tells Teresa, and Teresa's like, what's wrong? It's just a dead animal. We're in the woods. You're going to see that stuff. Dave's like, no, you don't get it. There's something about this. And Dave's like, every time I think of it, just, oh. He's like, just don't worry about it. We'll be fine. So she's like, if you need to be worrying about anything, that's finding Ethan and Jessica because they're gone. He's like, you're right. You stay here. I'll go looking for them. Well, now it goes to Ethan and Jessica, and they're walking around talking, keeping their mind off of stuff. And, they stop. They're in the woods. They're talking, and you know what they're about to do. And David, he walks in, and he walks out looking for him, and he actually walks in on them. And David sees them, and David just laughs. But then David sees the dead skunk laying next, another dead skunk laying next to them, and they didn't notice it. And as soon as David sees it, he's like, and David points over there and says, "Do you not see what's 10 feet away from you?" And they look over and they see it, and they flip out. They're like, "Another one? Something's up." There's two dead skunks, and as they're walking back, they run into a dead pig. So now they're getting scared. They've seen three dead animals, and they're really scared. They don't know what it is or why they're out there. So when they go back to the tent, they walk into the tent. They see Teresa in the tent. Her guts are wide ripped out, She's got bite marks in her neck, chunks of meat bit out of her neck. Every single one of them just. And, they start running back. Now they're getting scared. They all split up. Ethan and Teresa, Ethan and Jessica went one way, and David went the other way. And, David, he's by himself. He's scared right now. And David, he's walking, and out of nowhere, David sees this deformed man out way back from, like, I'd say about 20 feet in front of him. And David is walking, all of a sudden David sees him out of nowhere. So David gets really scared, and he takes off running back to the tent. Even though his dead girlfriend is in the tent dead, he runs back to where the tent is. He's looking for Ethan and Jessica, where they all split up. And, he's scared to death right now. He's running for his life. And he actually runs into Ethan and Jessica, and they're like, over here, David, over here, hurry, hurry, hurry. And David, he runs over there. And now it's about 3 o'clock in the morning. Now it's like, I'd say it's about 3 o'clock in the morning. They're getting scared. They don't want to get no rest. But, Jessica, she's feeling really tired. She's like, I need to get some sleep. So, they're out in the woods. They got a dead friend. They don't know if an animal killed it. David's telling them what he saw. They don't know if they can believe him or not. So they're like, okay, well, let's just pitch here. Me and Dave will stay awake, and Jessica, you can get a little bit of sleep. At least an hour of shut-eye. So Jessica lays down, and she gets a little bit of sleep. When out of nowhere, about 10, 15 feet away from them, they see a shadow moving, and they keep seeing the shadow, and they get scared instantly. David says, fuck you guys, I'm out of here. I'm not going to get killed by this thing. So David takes off running, and David trips over this big rock. And when David trips, he looks up, and he sees this deformed guy standing there in ripped up camouflage overalls with an axe. And the guy swings the axe, and it slams David right in the face. And now David's dead. Ethan and Jessica, they don't take off running. They're like hiding in the woods. They're trying to find their way out. So they're walking, they're looking for a way out. Ethan and Jessica are the last two alive. And then they come across this village, a small little village. There's about 3 houses and a fire going on. So they know someone's going to be there. There's a fire going on. And there's this old rusted truck in front of one of the houses. So Ethan walks up to the truck, looks, no one's in it. He goes over to the fire. The fire's on, going. So obviously someone's been here. So Ethan goes into the first house, and there's no one in there, but there's a bunch of dead animals and blood everywhere. The skunks are dead and stuff. And Ethan goes, he's like, I don't know what this is. Maybe they're hunters or something. He goes to the next house, and there's Teresa laying, her dead body laying down. And then he looks, and he sees this deformed redneck guy carrying David's body dead, and he sees 3 other deformed rednecks following behind him. And he gets really scared. Jessica, she runs and she hides underneath the rusted truck. And Ethan, he hides underneath the bed in the house that he's in, the little cottage that he's in. And he's hiding under the bed when he sees the deformed redneck guy bring David's dead body and lay it right next to the bed and just start cutting his legs off and eating out of the meat on his legs and cutting his arms off, eating out of the meat. And then Ethan hears Jessica scream. So the deformed redneck that was cutting up David's body goes outside, and Ethan crawls up from under his bed and looks out the window, and he sees that they all have Jessica, and they're like tying her up to a tree outside. So Ethan, the first thing he does is he goes to the table and he grabs the nearest weapon, which is a little pocket knife. And he's like, I gotta find a way to stop this. So Ethan sneaks out and he hides behind a pile of firewood. And he's keeping an eye on these deformed rednecks, how they got Jessica tied up. And they're hitting her with sticks and stuff. And, you're going, woo, 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 hitting her with sticks. And then Ethan, he's like, he's really scared right now. He doesn't know what to do. He's already lost 2 of his friends. Now his friend, his girlfriend, is about to get murdered. So he's really scared. So Ethan, the first thing he does is he decides, I gotta get a distraction, get them to come after me, then I'll come back and get her, and we'll take the truck and get out of here. So Ethan takes off running into the woods, and he starts yelling for them. When Ethan runs into one of them, the deformed guys, when they see him take off running, the deformed guys, they're just pissed, and this is exactly what they sound like. So Ethan, he's running out in the woods, Jessica's screaming no, and Ethan's running in the woods, and they're all chasing after him. Well, they see Ethan just runs, and he's outrunning them, because he's a baseball player and all, so he runs and he slides, gets away from one of them, he's hiding from them, they're all looking for him, they're all looking around, and he starts sneaking back. He gets back to the village, he gets Jessica loose, they get in the truck, they hotwire the wires. As soon as they get the wires hotwired, they take off driving, they're thinking they're okay and they're going to make it back. Well, as they start driving, all of a sudden, the tires get popped and go out, and they don't know what popped the tires. So Ethan's like, you stay in the truck, I want to see what happens. So Ethan, he gets out. When he starts looking at the back tire, how it got popped, he sees an arrow in it. And then Ethan starts he's scared. So he starts running as fast as he can to get to the front door of the truck. When out of nowhere, an arrow goes through his back, right when he gets to the door. And as he's pulling the arrow out of his back, and he looks in the front seat, he sees an arrow through the windshield, through Jessica's neck while she's dead. And as Ethan falls to his knees, he looks over and he sees the deformed people in the woods with bow and arrows. And, Ethan falls down dead, and they walk over there and take the bodies back to their cottage, cut them up and eat them as food. And no one's been in those woods ever since.